start recording. So also I got some feedback yesterday that when I'm asking, somebody's asking the questions, I should be repeating them because of the record. Okay, so I also I also took that to note, and I'm happy for that feedback. Okay. Okay, so Catherine Charlotte says my screen is visible. Thank you, Catherine. Okay, guys, so for those people who were not there yesterday, or just as a recap for the whole class, remember, guys, we said on how we looked on how to insert a pivot table, okay? But I'd rather not use this table. I'd rather use the I'd rather use the project one, okay? This one. Just give it a minute to open. I'd rather use this table, okay, because it had some extra feature in which you call a timeline slicer, okay. This was also a question from, I believe you had this question. This was a question of calculating dates today. I'll also, so if you didn't hear the question here, we were calculating the date yesterday from a certain date. So when you're given a certain date, maybe we said there are two approaches. You can use the year of today minus that year, okay? So if in 2023, maybe 2020, yeah? And there is the dated if approach. The dated if approach now uses some syntax of the arguments include, because you see it's an old formula. It was initially used in the Lotus 123 and the very, I think, Windows XP, if there was a spreadsheet, yeah. So that the syntax was you select the date that you want, and then this was the start date, end date, and how you want your the difference in to be expressed. Okay, that was a nice question from somebody. Can't really remember his name. Okay, so here we said, oh, if you wanted to maybe just input a pivot table, you control T. Okay, so after you control T, you can either insert a table here, okay, by controlling T. You'll find, okay, let me just replicate that. So I said you can control T. You'll find the ranges for your table. You can go under the table design, summarize the table, then go to okay. So here maybe we just have something, we can have premiums as our values, okay. So we can have our sum insured, okay, as our value also, and we also want something like maybe, I don't know what we can use. Anything today we can use the source of business, okay, so as our column, okay. And the source of business also, we might put something under the branch code or the branch, and then the source of business, just to see at each branch who brings what and who does what, okay. So these ones I can format them into nice numbers, okay. 0. So I'm touching on two things, just a recap on two things. One, a slicer. Two, a calculated field, okay. So again, we said you cannot change anything inside a pivot table. Just to note, you can change the row labels, but when you try deleting it, you can't, okay. So the best thing, maybe you want to rename your pivot table, is usually to go inside the table, click inside the formula bar, then delete everything while you're inside the formula bar, then maybe rename your table to the header of your liking, okay. So the rule of thumb is usually to to name your data very intuitively and very intuitively, so that anybody using the data can clearly understand. So this is not the right definition, but this is just to show you that you can change the headings of each and every column, okay, to something that you want. But when you try deleting it, it cannot happen. So the thing you have to do is come inside the 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 formula bar. As you can all remember, this is called the formula bar. So guys, calculating inserting a field that was not initially there is one of the advanced skills that you might need in a pivot table. So how did we say you can do that? You can do that by going to the pivot analyze ribbon, okay, under the field list, okay, here under the field list you go to calculated field, okay, so here you can name your field to whatever you want, okay. So here, like we worked with percentage of premiums premiums as a percentage of the sum insured, okay, as a percentage, oh sorry, percentage of sum insured, okay. So here you come to your formula. Which formula do you want? You see now here you are not, normally in Excel we will divide a cell by another cell, but what happens here now, we are dividing a column by another column, okay. And I said this is a very important skill while you are also writing your measures when you use when you go now to something like a query, okay. So yeah, so here we are looking at premiums, where premiums is there, so you just click on it, okay, then you divide it by sum insured, okay, then you press okay, then it will give you that column, so you can choose to write whatever you want. So premiums, uh, okay, so this field already exists because I think we had created it yesterday. So just you can just add some D's there at the end just for explanation. Then I can change this into a percentage with 0 decimal places, okay, so that I get to see what is the percent of maybe at each point what is the percent of the insurance that everybody is paying as a percentage of the sum insured. So that will clearly enable you to insert more columns or more calculations that you may want to happen within the chart, okay. So that is one. I think the next thing was slicers, okay. We said there are two types of slicers. There's a Well, when you go here, there's a timeline slicer. Okay, a slicer is just a filter. Okay, it's just something that helps you to maybe um, filter your data. Okay, visually. Okay, so we'll go ahead and input one slicer. So under the pivot table analyze again inside slicer, you can go maybe here we already have our branch, we already have our source of business. Maybe we can choose something else. We can still choose branch and see what happens when you have a slice on branch. So when you have a slicer like this, you have the ability to resize it, okay, to whatever size that you want, okay, to whatever the design, okay. So for more slicer settings, you can go to the size and properties, just see how to maybe change the size and the property, okay. You can disable resizing, okay, so that this won't be once you change your table, the size will remain the same, but once you change that again, you won't be able to do all these other things, okay. So yeah, so something else about the slicer, once you now select a slicer, it will now filter the table to whatever you had selected only, okay. So like here, for example, I select Mombasa, visually I'll be able to see only Mombasa, okay. So if I select Eldoret, that way, okay. So the next type of slicer is a timeline slicer, works in the same way but now only gives you a specific period, okay. So a specific period, okay. So if I was to insert now a timeline slicer here, I'll just use the same approach. I can either insert it under the pivot, or one of our students noted you can also insert it under the insert table or the insert ribbon, okay. So under the insert ribbon you can always insert the slicer, okay. Yeah, so I'll also mention the spark lines maybe in the class. Okay, so once I insert a timeline slicer like that, Excel will look at your pivot table and then check, is there any data with dates? So it gives you all, if I had 5 columns with dates, they will be listed here. So for example, we chose to use the period cover from, okay, so we said you can create a slicer like that. So this one is a timeline slicer. As you can clearly see, it has months and dates. Okay, so if I was to replicate just this, maybe copy it here. Okay, so maybe I wanted one to display years only. Okay, and this one to be just in the months as they are. Okay, so here when I now auto filter, maybe if I wanted to see the insurance premiums or policies that came in 2018, once I click 2018, now this data is filtered by the 2018. Okay, so as if you can see here, the value in 2018 or the premiums that came in 2018 that had the period cover from 2018 is 73 million. Maybe if you're presenting, you can present everything. Okay, this is the total that we've been having. Okay, 133 for all the 5 years, but in 2018 73 came in. Then in 2017 58,887 came in. Then in 2016 785, maybe in 2015 524. So you can see that the business has been growing. Okay, so that you have seen by the use of a slicer. All right, so okay, let me just remove a field to pass another hint that we went through yesterday, which now I'll just remove the branch code. Okay, so if I remove the branch code, okay, now I remove again, I remove all the slices. Maybe I select 2018, and I just wanted to see now this represented in terms of a graph. Okay, we said you can use the pivot chart. Okay, so if I can use the pivot chart, maybe I can use the this one. Okay, so if I use this one, okay, you'll see that there is one broker business that looks to be very predominantly high when it comes to the sum insured. Okay, and that is I think it is the if I'm not wrong, is the facultative in. No, it's not actually the facultative in, it's another type of business. But if you wanted to see again which type of insurance that is, you can always go ahead and in your field list then insert the another like the class name. Okay, so for example here I've inserted the different class names just to see which one was the highest. Like here it was engineering. Now if I happen to change in my slicer here, okay, this graph will be automatically be or dynamically be changing. Okay, this might be very important maybe while you're plotting graphs and you don't need to be moving the ranges day by day. Okay, so if you don't need to be moving the ranges day by day, you can just put it in a table and a pivot chart. Okay, so you can again just the basic formatting of a chart, you can remove that. Okay, you can add a title. Okay, we might look at this while looking at maybe preparation of visualizations. So that's why I want us to move a little fast. Okay, so I think that is sorted. The slicer and the calculated field are sorted. Okay, so without any further ado, I think that was well noted. Okay, now this is just the assignment. Okay, just before I forget, there was something I was trying to show you yesterday, but I think it was not working correctly because I had not thought about it properly, or I was doing a mistake here. I'll just repeat it so that we can see how to like use one formula for separating numbers. Remember yesterday, guys, we had to use we had to go to the data column, the text to column, and which might not be very ideal in every situation. So this is what I was searching. Yeah, so you can always search. This is also another example of just how you can combine the formulas that we have learned, like the left and the right, just to get what you want. Okay, so if I was searching and when you go to search, you'll find these arguments. The first, find text. So the first, I want to find a blank space. Okay, so when I want to find a blank space, within maybe this text, okay, so within that text in a table, okay, then the start number maybe is 1. So I'll find that the blank space is in the second position, okay, but when I go now to the 512, I'll find that the blank space is in the fourth position, okay. So now it will depend with now what I want to do, okay. So for example, I want to say if maybe again there's another search, okay. So it's you can this is the way you can do it. You can choose now to maybe separate just this number, okay, with the number of characters, which, okay, this one give me the second character, but I just want everything minus 1. Okay, so I'll just get the numbers, okay, from that row, okay. So if I was to do the opposite to get the wordings here, well, I'll just do the other way, okay. So I write and then I search for that, then the length of the whole thing, so that I get the remaining part, okay. Are you together? But that should not be a challenge really, because we saw there's an easier and alternative route that does not require a lot of thinking in terms of using your mental resources just to for a simple problem, okay. That's okay. So this, I think these are data, yeah. So these are data that we've been using for our class, and I'll just go back to it, okay. So I think that is okay. So is there any question before I move on, because I want to move on very fast? Is there any question? No. Let me see. There's no question, guys, but remember, the pivot table is very, very imperative tool, okay. We've seen that it can really ease in your work, okay. Like, do things that you will have taken so much time to do within a very short time, okay. So it will cover you in terms of if it was to do a sum, if maybe, okay, because remember these are just aggregates and averages and average ifs, so this is an average if kabianga, okay. So but it quickly helps you to do whatever you want very fast without having to go all that way, okay. Are you together? Are you together? All right. So the next thing I want us to do now is go now to a new topic under pivot query. Power query, sorry. So under Power Query is a tool that helps you to import data from other different sources that you might have, okay? So it helps you to import data from other sources that you might have, and maybe do some transformations in the data that you might not be able to do in the normal Excel, okay? So it's like an add-in to some, it comes as an add-in to the previous versions, maybe the earlier versions, okay. But worry not, we'll just do the basics, we won't go too much, so that we don't leave anyone, okay. So it helps you to clean, to change the format, to change the shapes of everything that you do, okay. And also something else, it helps you to avoid repetitive steps, maybe such as cleaning. If you had to clean data at every point, now you have just to add it once, okay. And you add it once, and maybe now every time you just add it on the other side, it will follow the steps that you have made on this side, just for making your work easier, okay. So I don't know if we all have the Power Query add-ins. Do you remember how to add add-ins? If you don't have, okay, so I'll just first go to, does everybody have data? Under their data they have the get data option. I'll want to hear some responses so that I can know how to handle those who don't have. Do we have the okay, so Rayton says they have, which is a good thing. So under the get data option, you can see we can I want to I'll start with the web one. Okay, right on. I thought you had it, which could be you don't have the under your data ribbon the get data option. Yes, yes, you must be having it. Okay. All right. So if you have this option done, it's a good thing, okay? Because we'll try getting data from a few sources, mainly the web sources. I will also see how there was a question posed yesterday by Joel, I think. Joel, if I'm not wrong, your question was, can you be able to combine different data from different worksheets? Just to, if that was a question, right? Different data from different worksheets to one worksheet, then pivot it. Okay. So we can also see how Power Query can do that. Okay.
Yes, yes, but just before you proceed,
Okay.
I don't have it.
All right. For 2013, it might be a challenge. Okay. Are you connected? Okay. So for anybody who does not have Power Query, I think I'll also send, it was an oversight issue. I should have sent the installation guide just for you to be able to install. So we said you can always, yes? Is there? Okay, so Malvin says you can contact him for the version 2019. But okay, I don't know if under the add-ins options, when you go to options and you go to add-ins, okay? So when you go under, uh, you mean I repeat? Or from my side? Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so under the get data, oh sorry. When you want maybe to add an add-in, remember we said an add-in like data analysis, maybe solver, maybe a fuzzy lookup. All these are add-ins that do not come by default in Excel. So how do you add it? So you go to your uh, file ribbon, okay? So when you go to under the options, here you will find add-ins, okay? So you can always look for the power uh the power the power query add-in, okay? So when you find the power query add-ins, um you can select it if you find it. If you don't have it, there's a way you can download it and then put it inside your Excel and then use it, okay? But the process of you adding and adding is just the same. Just like if I was to add the analysis toolpak, I just click on it, then go, then it will bring up this dialog box, then you'll press OK, then you'll find your adding inside your Excel. Okay, so I don't know if you have been able to do that. Yes. No, not right now. Right now we are under the Power Query. I want to just us to go through very quickly how you can get data maybe from our website, maybe from the web. I'll also go how to about how to use the analysis toolpak. It is part and parcel of my plan today. So what under the get data option, it is not intrinsically written like Power Query. Under the get data option, what do you have? Or under the data ribbon, what do you have here? Yes, that's you'll get external data. Once you get external data, it will just redirect you to your query, your Power Query rather. Okay, so here now I want us to go to I think we'll just go to maybe something okay. Uh, Now here again, as I'd said, we are going to get some external data. Okay, so we'll see how to get some external data. I think we'll just make a few connections here and there. Okay, so I hope you can still see my screen. I'll maybe look for something here. Let me just, I can use either the browsers, wherever that wherever browser that you can use. So maybe I can use top, or maybe something that I can easily find in Wikipedia, because I am sure that it has a table inside it. Okay, so for example here I can use what, capital cities in the Wikipedia. Okay, so I clearly know uh, Wikipedia does give me search. Okay, but this doesn't look very interesting. Maybe let me look at banks in the world, something that has maybe some more rows and columns. So here, maybe I wanted to get now this data inside my worksheet. We'll just start with this data, then we can now look at another set of data. Okay, so what do you need to do? You need to come to your URL here. I hope you can see, and then copy that URL. Okay, so once you copy it, what happens, you go back to your query or to your get external data. Okay, so once I go to my get external data, I can use maybe from other sources, now from web. Okay, so it will give me uh, a dialog box. So I'll just paste the URL here. Remember that I got the URL from the top of the page. Okay, so I'll press OK. So it will tell me it's waiting for Wikipedia. It's establishing the connection. So it will give me the following options. Okay, so it will give me all the tables maybe that exist in that page. Okay, so as you can see here, I have the first one by market capitalization. Maybe I want the other one by maybe total assets, and I maybe number of banks by assets. This is the document. So for example, I just want this one. Okay, the major banks uh, by by market capitalization. So I'll go to transform data. Now once I get to the transform data, it will now take me straight to the query editor. Yes, go ahead, Joseph.
My question.
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, yes. No, 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 no. You got to get data from web, because now you're getting data from web, right? Uh-huh. I don't understand. Uh-huh. have not experienced that before. Uh, I know it will take some time if I was tell you to maybe share your screen, but you say once you go to get data, you have from all the different type of sources that you can have, right? Okay, so what happens after that? From other sources, when you click on other sources, which other sources can you get? Yes, exactly. From web, when you click on web, it does it give you a place where you can paste your URL? Yes, kindly do that. Are we together up in? Okay. Hmm. Are we going to get data then from other sources? From the web? Yes. So so when you get data from the web, what option is it giving you? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So under the address, what if you try using the address as the URL page? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not I'm not very sure that I've experienced that, but maybe what can you can follow through. Maybe we can check we can look at it after class if it's okay. All right. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. No, just the basic and then press OK. Yeah. So guys, were you able the rest? Yes. Mm-hmm. Uh, the warning sign. Okay. So and have you copied the URL in full? Okay, that might be a challenge that I've not maybe handled before. So you get a warning error, right? So that those are maybe I've not experienced those challenges before. Uh-huh. Okay, there's another challenge with Benson. Yeah, when you continue, what happens? There's no problem with trying really. Uh-huh. Okay, just let's be patient as we try to connect. Okay. Okay, so I think we are having a challenge here and there in terms of connection. So I'll start redoing again, uh, so that we are all on the same page. Okay, because this if it doesn't work, we'll go to the with the with the with the maybe with the Excel file option. But I really wanted us to have to use the web option. Okay, so I'll cancel this. Okay, discard. Okay, so I go back to my to my uh initial page. Okay, so I hope everybody can get back here. I know there are a few challenges here and there. Let's see how to redo them. So here I said maybe I go to maybe I'll use another a different list of the top universities maybe in the world. I'm just looking for something that is very imperative and very very easy to use. List of top universities, or list of universities. I even don't want the top ones in the world. Okay, and I want actually to specify Wikipedia because I know it must have a table. There's a challenge of websites without a table, and you will get to see it when you continue using this kind of this kind of way of to scrape data from the web. Okay, so for example, everybody can see here uh, everybody can see here that I've copied this URL, right? Are you together? So once I copy this URL here, I go back now to my web page, to my Excel. Okay, so I go to the data ribbon. Okay, I have the get data. It might be written something else, depending on the version that you're using. Okay, we are not using from file, we are not using from text or CSV. What we want is from other sources. I choose the web source. Okay, now I can come paste my URL there, just under the basic. Press OK. So yes. Mm-hmm. I'll have to cancel this and maybe start. So you have table range, web. So when I click web, it directs me to a place where I can paste my URL from the web. Then I go ahead and paste it. Okay. So once I paste it, mm-hmm. Where does it direct you to? If I might read whatever is up on the page. Mm-hmm. What happens when you press OK? I think Benson didn't tell me what happened to his. Are you connected to the internet? Okay. Yeah, you must be because you're on the call. Mm-hmm. So when you jump to content, I'm just trying to pre imagine what the error will be. Mm-hmm. Yes. I think which version are you using? Okay, for 2016, I know it shouldn't be a big problem. Okay, but maybe for the precursor versions, it might have a little of a challenge. So Benson and Ngeru, were you able to get to the same place? But you got first to where you are not getting. That was the first thing. Yeah, right. Uh-huh. Okay, so when you go here and press OK, guys, first, are we together? Because maybe I've looked at particular cases of maybe. Mhm. So you can just go with the anonymous. There's an anonymous option. Yeah, just use the anonymous option. Okay, so here when you go to the get data, I'll just repeat again because maybe I've connected before, so it doesn't ask me how I want to connect to maybe the web page. Okay, so I'll paste my URL there, go to it. Okay, so here I'll just give it, I'll just check these tables. I go to the table that I want. I'm sure this is the table that I want. Okay, so here I'll go to, you can load directly to Power Query, but I usually prefer to transform my data. Okay. Uh-huh. Transforming, loading, there's nothing. Again, that should be a challenge because how are you supposed to go? Uh-huh. Go ahead. Go ahead. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, from 2016 should be working, but if it's not working, you can try to update to a newer version. Because again, if you want to be better placed, okay, to be better placed in terms of yes, I'm saying that's why I'm saying for anybody who has an earlier version, just to get try get a newer version, okay? Because it will work most. There's don't feel like you're being segregated or anything, but I think using a newer version is better for you, okay? So I don't know, Malvin, you can help people around. Yeah, Malvin, you can. Yes, okay. Uh-huh. Okay. So another issue is speed, and which is good feedback. I do appreciate. But somebody just texted something that 2016 is working for them. John said so. So you can just keep retrying so that we don't take too much time because I didn't intend to take too much time on this, but I'll just go over it one more time so that again my mantra is you'll rather learn only a few things and get them to the core rather than we go over everything and you end up starting all over fresh when you start learning. So guys, just be keen, concentrate fully on what we are doing, and I know everything will be all right. Okay. So one more time, when you're trying to get your data, you can just go under the get data, get data, uh, get data option. Okay, so under this get data option, okay, and something else just to mention, I use both the Microsoft 2016 and the Office 365. My Microsoft 2016 works well, and my Microsoft 365, the Office 365 work well. So I think there might be some issues in what you're using, but we can go over that after class, okay? So here, when you get to the data, you go to the under get data option, you go to other sources, go to the web. So I paste the URL here, then I press OK. So it will load a little bit. Then it will bring me some of the table options that exist in that web page. So for example, this is the table that I know I'm interested in. Okay, I can also check the next table, what the next table has. Maybe it has a few more rows that I'm not interested in. I can now go to transform data. Okay, so once I go to my transform data, okay, now I have my editor here. So I'll just explain a little bit of this. Editor looks more or less the same as the editor that we have been using in Excel, right? As in the how it looks, it is almost similar with what we've been having in Excel. So here we'll have our ribbons with the different capabilities to do different things. Okay, so the home ribbon has just like we had there some editing stuff. Okay, so we'll see how to use, like, this table has two headers. How do we remove one? Okay, because here we don't have the option of right clicking and deleting a column. Okay, so transform, we'll get to see how to use the first row as headers. Okay, just what I was speaking about. You can either choose to remove the top columns. Okay, so if I was to remove columns, okay, I can also use first row as headers. Okay, so add column. Okay, so there are different ways to add different columns in Excel, just as we had alluded earlier, based on the calculated ranking, calculated field. We can see then there are different views. The view is just how you want to see your data here. So maybe you want to show white space, you don't want to show white space. Okay, maybe you want monospaced. These are just how you to view. Well, maybe you want to see the column quality, so the column quality will always be popping up here. Are there any errors? Maybe if I had an NA in my row, okay, if I had an empty row, it will show me if you need. Okay, so if if I want to see the column profile statistics, I can see here the value distribution and all that. Okay, so but this is just how to view. Okay, all right, so with that being said, I hope this we have understood the ribbon part. Okay, so we have the query list. So the query list will always be here. Okay, so this is where all the um, queried tables, or maybe the web pages, will all be lining up here. Okay, so then next here we have same thing as we had, the formula bar. Okay, so the formula bar here now uses, this is called the M code. M code is used while writing this kind of query. Okay, so it's just table, transform, column types, data, university, it is in text type, countries in text type. It just denotes, okay, just denotes whatever we have here now in the M code. Okay, so if we went ahead and changed something here, it will change it here. Okay, but I wouldn't emphasize on that much. So after the formula bar, we have the data preview. As you can all see, here is a preview of the data that we have queried from the web. And then the applied steps. Okay, so this shows me the source. Okay, so the first was the source, then I navigated back to that. Now I changed the by default it changed the type, and you'll get to see as we get to do more additional steps, all the steps will be lined here. Okay, so the properties, you can choose to rename your table. For example, we can say this is which table we want to rename this. Maybe just table 1, maybe 2023 table. Okay, so once you rename it, you'll see in the query it will change here, and now under the properties of the table it will change. So if you want to see all the properties again, you can even go ahead and give it a description, maybe where you're getting your data and maybe how you're going to use your data, then press OK. Then you'll have your apply steps. Okay, so we have the different parts. We have the ribbon, we have the query list here. Okay, we have the data preview, we have the formula bar, we have the properties and the applied steps. So this is what we call a Power Query editor. So on this editor you can use to do it, you do various transformation before loading up your data back to Excel. Okay, so for example, the first and the foremost transformation I would like us to make is maybe go to transform. You can use your use first row as headers. Okay, use first row as headers. Okay, so when I do that, you'll get to see that here there's something, if you're keen, here after the change type there's something called promoted headers. Okay, so if I remove this step, okay, I want to delete that and I want to delete that. Okay, so here you see there are two headings. Okay, here there are two headings, 1 and 2, but I want now to use my first row, which is row number 1, to become the headings. Okay, so I'll just go to use first row as headers. Okay, now you see it tells me you promoted the headers and something was changed in type. Okay, so again, if you want to change the data type, these are the data types that are allowed: a decimal number, a currency, a whole number, percentage, date, time, all that. Okay, so here is the country, here is the maybe the year. I really don't, maybe I go back to the web and see what they inclined. Okay, this was the ranking in 2022, the ranking in 2023, I think. Okay, so you can always, also you have the option of renaming your column. So I can say ranking in 2022. Okay, so this is maybe ranking in, so this, because these are ranking, I can change it to a whole number. Okay, so that it's a number, right? So this one also I can go just check the table properties where it's giving me this column quality. I think there's an error in terms of how the data was loaded inside that. There's 18% error. This might mean that you might find there are letters or something. Okay, so I may just preview, try look at the errors. Let me just load more. Maybe there was a space in between a number, but we'll just get to see once we get to the other side. Okay, so I can just maintain it as it was, the text. Okay, let me just remove this. Okay, so I think some universities might not have been ranked. So if they were not ranked, right, that brings up the error, because now you see these are empty. So if I change this to number, that is why it's giving me because an empty cell will not be considered as a number. Same to, I think, this QS here, same where we have numbers is where you might find that challenge, especially when it is empty. All right, but you can always recheck that it's getting you an error because it's empty. Okay, so that's the good thing about checking the column quality. It helps you to flag off such things very early while you're working. Okay, so here again you have the options now from the home ribbon. Maybe you can choose column. So if I wanted to choose like 4 columns, okay, or 5, okay, so if I wanted to just maintain this, okay, and remove columns. So once you choose the columns that you want, you can choose to remove all the other columns, maybe the unnecessary columns. Maybe you always want to be refreshing it. Okay, remember we said you want to be refreshing something from the web, but maybe you just want to be seeing the number of universities in the world. You don't need all these other rankings. So once somebody updates something on the Wikipedia page, maybe you just wanted to maintain the universities, okay, and maybe the country. You didn't want all this other ranking. What you'll come and do, you'll just come select this column, then go to remove columns, then you'll say remove other columns. So once I remove other columns, my table will only remain with the names of the universities. Okay, just that is just for example. So if I was to come close and load this, okay, so if I was to load this in my Excel, let it just load. We'll just go and bring back the other column. So here I'll only get to see the university without any other details. Okay, so here we can only get to see the universities. Okay, so but if I want to change, I can always, I don't know if you've seen that, I can always I'll just come back. You see here, I don't want to exit. So here I'll just go back to my query. Okay, I'll just go back to my query. I'll remove this step so that I get the additional data. Okay, so once I remove that step, I can get my additional data and then come close and load, go back to my Excel workbook. Okay, so here these are the different types of transformation. This is the advanced editor, which I said uses M code. You might use it later. The refresh preview, this refresh preview enables you to, once you refresh the preview here, if any data has been added to the web, it will show you here and how it looks like. It might help you to, if maybe data was added with errors in your preview, it might be quite important. Okay, so here is the merge queries. Okay, so the merge under the append queries. So here the merge and append queries. Now this is what one of the students, I think Joel, was asking. What if you have data now from different maybe worksheets? Maybe I had 5 tables here and they all follow the same patterns. Okay, so if I wanted to add them, okay, so the merge, okay, I'll explain them. The merge queries is you're basing, you're adding your data based maybe on a certain column. Okay, you're merging them, bringing them together. Not appending. Appending is now adding data, like what we were doing to our tables, where we had cropped off. Okay, we had cropped off a number of rows. We can also do it practically, and just to see, we had cropped off a number of rows in our table. Okay, then come and add it. That is an append. Okay, but merge, you're basing it maybe on a certain unique key, maybe that data head, and the other table has unique data, so you merge them together. But append is just adding to already existing data. Okay, right. So here under the transform, it's just basically the different transformations that you can make. Okay, the transpose just you can treat now your rows as columns, columns as rows. Okay, but for me the most important, or the most significant the most significant thing here is usually the unpivot column. Okay, so this unpivot column, because remember you always have the option of pivoting columns. Okay, and you don't have the option of unpivoting. So this unpivot column is usually a very, very important tool while you are using the Power Query. Okay, so we'll just get to see an example how you can unpivot something. Okay, I will not belabor that point anymore. But the rest of the things, remember, as I always say, we cannot go through all. You can just go and try using this so that you can get to see how to be using it. Okay. Is there any questions up to that point? Is there any question? So what if now the same way that we were doing, you want to invoke, sorry, not to invoke, but to enter a custom column, okay? So I don't know, we can use what over what. Mhm. Maybe we can try checking how many positions maybe these universities moved from this 2023 to 2022. If it was number 2 in 2023 and it moved back to number 5 in 2022, assuming that this QS22 is also a ranking, we will want to see maybe how many positions it moved before taking it to our spreadsheet. Okay, so once that happens again, remember, um, once you refresh your data, that calculation will always be inside your table. Okay, so maybe we go to custom column. Okay, we say position movement. Okay, so here I can choose to use the ranking in 2023 as this one. I want to insert it. I want to subtract the ranking in 2022. Okay, it will tell me the syntax. Okay, the syntax has no error. I press OK. So okay, I might be having an error, and who might know why? Who might try to guess why I'm getting an error in my column? Here, look at these two columns. Yes, correct. That is correct. They have different data types, and I'll maybe because I was finding an error, I'll just change this to whole number, just to push this example maybe to work. Then I'll try change this one to a whole number, but I think there's still an error because it works column wise. Okay, so this one, table transformation, added custom ranking 2022 position movement. They're both integers. I'll just check. I think these two columns are having an issue. This one's the number. Okay. I thought this error was expansion. You cannot apply operator to types to number and text. Yeah. Okay, so I just cancel that because I think there are some text values inside this data. Okay, remember it's data from the web. Now I don't have the full control over who was entering it, but I'm trying to just change it to maybe to a whole number. Yes. Okay, so I first remove the column, then change the types. Okay, let's see if that works. I've just now removed that step. Okay, so I'm being advised to first go change the data type to numbers in both. So this is a number. We were checking 2022 rankings. This is also a whole number. Okay, so I'll just go add a custom column. So position So I'll try see the position that they moved from 2022 or the other way around, how many places they dropped or increased from 2022 to 2023, and see. Yeah, I think thank you for that, MKO. I think I inserted the column after then I changed the step later. So first it worked on the column before changing the before looking at the positions. Okay, but this maybe it might not be the very best example to explain, since it has a few errors there here and there in terms of the data type, but you get the idea. Okay, just like we are adding calculated fields, you can also do the same. But one thing to ensure that uh, if you're using, for example, if you're using for example if you're using for example a sum operator, minus operator, a division operator, you always ensure that the two the data is in the same, they have the same data type. Okay, like for example here we are having a problem because some of the data was in text and the other in QS 2023 was in integers. Okay, so with that being said, I think we have looked at some of the things. And so what happens now, okay, when you load this data, so after you've done all the transformations, changed to maybe added a column that was maybe not initially here, you see, like we were having the last column you are having here was the ranking based on the average, but now we have come, sorry, we have come and added a new column, return position movement. And if they update on the website also, this will be updated also. Okay, so here for here when I come and close, you always have the option of closing and loading data. Okay, so once I load my data here, okay, I'll have all the data that I had now here. Okay, now in my tables, I'll just make these columns a little bit smaller so that they fit. Yes, Sherilyn, I lost you there. Okay. So once you have your ribbon, you'll always have your query. You can always go back to it. You click your query. You can always click there. There's usually a table that is besides here. If it's not there, just click inside the query. Go back to the query. Go to edit. Mm, so sorry, it was Cherry Lake. Yes, Sherilyn. So we had a challenge. Okay, that's why maybe you might have missed what we were looking at. Okay, but basically we were saying you might now need to insert a column, a new column that was not inside this table. Remember here, you cannot, like, I can't do Harvard University moved from position 2 to position 5. Okay, like individually, I have to work co columnar wise. Okay, so I have to work through the whole column. So that's why we said you can always add a column. Okay, so we chose the custom column. And for this example, maybe the second example, we may want to see the percentage movement of the positions. So the problem we had, if I might say, or the thing I'd not considered, is changing the data types here. Okay, so if you're doing it, first ensure you change the data types before doing the calculation, because we tried doing the inserting the column first without changing one of the data types, and after even changing the data type, after having the calculation, you're still getting an error. Okay, so ensure that the data type here is changed, okay, before they're in the same. If it's something that requires, again, if it's something that requires um if it's something that requires changing, okay, if it's something that, if it's a sum operator, okay, if it's multiplication, a device division, okay, such. Okay, so here I'll just go to add column. I'll add a custom column. So here I'll maybe check maybe Cherilyn, you can be looking clearly to see percentage movement in positions. Okay, it might not be really correct, but to a way to look at it, movement in positions. Okay, so here I'll check maybe the new position in 2023. Okay, that one over the old position in 2022. Okay, then this, just want to see, I want to subtract this minus 1. I hope I don't need the bracket here, so that, okay, so that I just subtract the percentage movement. Okay, so let's see if I insert. So you can see this one moved, maybe. I hope we use the same logic. We started with the 2022. Yeah. So here I can change my data type to percentage. Okay, so I can have that as percentage there. So here I can have percentage. You can do all the other transformations inside on the other end. Okay, so if you need to do any other transformation. Okay, but once you had your added column here, you refresh on the other side, everything now that comes in is has this column. Okay, I hope you have understood, Cherilyn, on how to add a custom column. Okay, let's see. If you now go to your table and see, when we load our data here, did it load? Yeah, we now have our percentage movements. Okay, so here we can choose to just have this in percentage. Okay, so it's 0%. Okay, so here we have the table now that we had initially from the web. So if in this website, maybe tomorrow somebody comes and adds another table here. Okay, sorry, adds another row here inside after Dalian Medical University, it will be very easy to understand, or maybe easy to refresh. Sorry, I think the challenge that we are seeing here was this NAs, because I think they were not ranked. Okay, so these NAs were not ranked and they were bringing in a challenge when you're looking at the table. Okay, so you will ask yourself, once I've done the transformations in Power Query, I've done everything, is that all? No, that is not all. So once you get this, okay, now you can come again, since you have a table. Okay, remember this is a table and we even named it something, the 2023 table. Okay, so once you have this table, you can go ahead and do whatever we were doing yesterday, in which we were summarizing with a pivot table. So if I summarize it to a new pivot table, I can now do a summary inside of this table here. Okay, so for example, if I wanted just to see the universities, I can see all the universities here. Okay, so for example, I just wanted to see how they moved based on the rankings that we created here. Okay, so you can see not all of them had, okay, because I think not all of them were rated, but just to see which ones were rated, I'll just make this column into a percentage. Okay, and then I'll rank it, sort from the largest to the smallest. Okay, so you can see that this Karolinska Institute is the one that maybe moved most positions in terms of how it moved from the previous year. Okay, so some didn't move, and absolutely. Some also dropped in terms of their position, in terms of like the University of Massachusetts in Amherst moved down 84% of its previous year's position. Okay, so that is one. Okay, I can also choose now to come maybe see. I'm not interested in maybe just seeing the universities alone. I'm also interested in seeing where the universities maybe from a particular country. Okay, so I can just choose university from a particular country. Okay, so for example, I just want to see universities in Australia. I'll see this and the universities in Australia. Maybe I'll just come add the rank now inside here. But these now are the basic things that you can do already while you have queried your data. Okay, so the main point is first, am I able to query? Okay, so let's see ranking based on average. I want it as a value just in front of that. Okay, so it will sum, but basically there is nothing to sum because it's just one one position. So I'll ranking based. Yeah, I can change this to value field setting. I want to show value with no calculation. Okay, so here I'll just change this again to number. Okay, so based on the I want to see here, I want to see by the smallest because that will be the best ranked. So this ones didn't have a rank in this country of Australia. This one was number 26 based on the rankings of maybe I don't know if it was the world universities. Okay, also a grand total here wouldn't make sense because again adding the ranks doesn't give you any meaningful information. So I go back to my pivot analyze, design. I go to the grand totals and I say off for both rows and columns. So I have my data here. So if I was just scouting for universities and I want the one that didn't drop so much, okay, and has a good ranking, maybe I want to go to a particular country, like I know most of us maybe wanting to go to, maybe I don't know if anybody wants to go to Russia, but let's just see how Russia universities rank. So most of them were not ranked. Maybe the lecturers were busy, maybe teaching them how to do other things, and they did not have time to submit their rankings of the university. But you can only see only one university in Russia, the Lomonosov Moscow State University was ranked. Maybe in Singapore they only have 3 universities. But basically this now all stems from what we have done. Okay, so the main part or the main take home from this, okay, will be this query that we created here. Okay, so this query that we created here now is the stem of all this analysis that you might be doing here. Okay, so this analysis, okay, I didn't even use this tab, just delete it. Sorry, I'm having an issue with my eyes here. Here once I do a data refresh, okay, so if maybe I'd queried even 5 worksheets, okay, and something is added to those worksheets, by this refresh, okay, this refresh will enable me to now refresh everything. It will refresh both my pivot table, it will refresh both my query. All right, are we together? Are we understanding? And I've not seen my chat box, so maybe there's a question. Okay, there's no question. Are we getting that point? Yeah, okay, that's nice. So I know they might be have been we might have had a few challenges here and there in terms of people connecting, but the thing is, if you're able to follow through maybe and try to connect to a table, okay, maybe to a different table altogether, it will work best for you. Okay, so I'll try just to connect to one extra table. Okay, maybe longest rivers in the world. It only brought me that. Let me just choose still Wikipedia because I am sure it has a table and the data is more structured for better explanations. So I'll just go check. Yeah, so if I had this, okay, I can just, again, if you didn't see how we did it, you copy the that URL, bring it to you can just go again to your data. Okay, yeah, you get data from the web. Okay, then from that, paste your data there. Okay, so I'm just doing a recap of what we have done using a different table so that everybody gets to at least the idea. Okay, the idea is better than just living without the idea. Okay, so I'll just transform this. Okay, so I'll just do it. I don't know if the preview is old. I don't know if I've ever connected. I'll just refresh to a newer preview. Okay, so you see it already has the older table that I had connected to. So if I was to add this table, maybe they were having the same key. Okay, by key I mean a unique identifier to the data. Maybe you want to connect everything in rank and the other table has a rank. Okay, maybe you just wanted to connect that and they're both unique and they both exist in the two tables. You could be able to do that. Okay, so as we had said, you can always use your first row as your headers. Okay, so once you do that, you can come add any transformation that you might need, be it a column, yeah, be it any calculation that you want. Okay, so here we just close and load. So you see, each and every time you will be you add another query. I've not named this query, which is not some very good practice, but now I still have mine. You can have more than one query in one worksheet. Okay, so here again, once you have this, it will work the same way. Okay, you'll do the same process of once you refresh, you get your data. So once you refresh all, you'll be getting your data in the same manner as you're getting this one. Okay, so for anybody who might have missed how we did work on these universities of the world, sorry, these are universities of Kenya. So these universities of the world, maybe you've gotten something from how we have relooked now at the rivers of the world. Okay, so at the rivers of the world, I'll hide this. You can go ahead and rename it. Instead of table 0, maybe rivers the world. So you can go ahead and summarize this using the various tools that you have here. Maybe the pivot table, which is okay, you click inside the table design, go to the summarize table. Is that point clear? Because I think with that everybody can be able to do that. Maybe before we look at something else. Is that clear? I need to see something in my chat box at least to know that you guys have not left and are still with me and have been able to connect. And if you have not been able to connect, don't worry, we will try and see how we can sort you. Also, our very own Malvin, I think, can help you to get a newer version of Excel if the version is a problem. Okay. All right, so David Wang says it's clear, and that's okay. Okay, so it's very important for you to understand how now you can be using the query, okay, together with the query together with the pivot to make some of the decisions that you might want to project to people dynamically, or something that keeps increasing. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you, but basically it just follows from the same, but now you can always be picking even data from another worksheet. Okay, so I'll assume that I'll just divide this maybe to answer somebody's question so that they feel a bit I'll just cut this data, paste it into another sheet. Maybe leave my original data there. Maybe I want this to be part one of the table, and this to be the second part. Remember, I've just copied the sheet. If you're following through, you can just copy the sheet under your assignment twice. I want to remove the first, maybe, I don't know, 1000 now. I'll go all the way maybe to 500. 500 is closer. 500. I've removed everything from row 500. Okay, so that is in my part. Let me just call this part 1. Okay, in my part 2, in which I'm going to tablerize them. Okay, I'll just remove everything from 500 going all the way down. So I'll remove everything from 500 all the way down. So I'll create a table. I'll say Control T. Okay, I'll just rename this also as table part 1, the first part of the data. I'll rename the second one. Okay, I'm a little bit confused, but you can rename them anyhow, it doesn't matter. Control T, table design part 2. Okay, so I just want us to now get data even from an existing worksheet. Okay, so that you take it to the query, maybe append 2 tables. Okay, and we'll get to see. Just want a new sheet here. Let me just get a new sheet right here. Yeah, so here I want now to get data, but remember we use the web option, which is very okay in terms of it helps you to get data from an external source that you did not have. Okay, but now we want to use data from a table or range. Okay, so it can be, you can be having an Excel book maybe maintained by somebody else, but you want to be seeing it. Just he does not need to send you the workbook so that you can update the cells. You just want to be refreshing from this. Okay, so now we just want to see maybe from other sources like a table or range. So it will ask me where is your table. Okay, so I think I must be on the same sheet. So here I'll just go data, get data from 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 other sources, table or range. So it will ask me where is my table. I'll highlight where my table is all the way down to that 499. I'll press OK. Okay, so I need not to have created the table first, so I'll just convert it into a range. Beside converting it to a range, you can always right click your mouse under this option, right click under table, convert to, okay, and also come convert the other one to a range, because now it's like Power Query now creates a table on top of my table. That's why it's bringing a challenge when I want to get data from a table, from other sources, from table. It tells me that is my range. I say okay. So it will take me just to the query editor. Okay. So this table, I can name it that like we had named it the part 1. Okay. So that will be part 1. Okay. So I'll close and load. So it will still take me to another query. Okay. So if I was also to get data from this table, okay, the part 2. So just the same process, get data from table or range. Where is your table? I give it the range, that, okay, press okay. Be still on a table, convert it to a range. Yes. So I'll just go get data here, data, get data from other sources. I'll go to a table or range. I'll press okay. Okay, so I'll just go to error, change type. I think it's the way I named it. So I'll just go name my table on the other end so that I don't get that error that I'm getting here. So this table is called, I can look up for the name, table 6. I'll just call this one by default and see if I can change it from the other end. This is table 6. This is table. How comes both of them? Okay, this is, okay, this is table 6. This should be this is the query, okay, for part 1. This is the data for part 1. So I'll go to part 2. I'll look at get data from this. Sorry if you're getting confused. I just want to show how you can combine two queries from maybe different worksheets, okay, into one. Okay, so I'll just check this one. Let me just rename it table 4 and see if it will find, because it says I changed something here. We couldn't find Excel name table 4. Okay, I think we got a little bit confused while splitting the table. So I'll just discard this query, take my data afresh. Okay, that's why I always tell you to copy the set of data that you have. So I'll just take it to an entirely new workbook so that we don't get any confusion. Here I'll take maybe even from 50, because now we've gotten the point that we want. It's just to combine two queries, okay, from one worksheet to form like one table. It's very important while maybe you have so many worksheets and you want to collect them and analyze them as one. Maybe this is January, it has very many entries, February. Okay, so what do? We go to, now we have just taken the original data for anybody who is following through, separated into two pieces, from row 1 to row 49, and then from row 49 to the last one, but I've just maintained my headers as they were, okay, on the two worksheets. Okay, so here I go back to get data. Okay, so I'll just go get data from table or range. This is where I want to get it. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so for the first 48 columns, okay, there's nothing that I'm changing here. It has picked my headers correctly. So I'll go to home, close and load. Okay, so it will create another sheet. Okay, with the table 1. Okay, and shows me it's the only query. Okay, so I'll go now to sheet 2, get data from other sources, from table or range. Okay, it's picked it as table 3. It has already named the other one as table 2. So I can come here to append queries. Okay, so I want to append queries to tables to append. It will give me the current one and table 1. Okay, so I press OK. So what happens now when I home, close and load? So you see now, here on my first sheet, if I might just show you, on my first sheet I had 49 entries. Okay, so 49 entries. I was adding these other entries. Okay, 79, 51. So if 79, 51 minus 1, okay, so it's 79, 51 minus 1, 79, 50. I was adding these two. The number of rows here is on this sheet 1 is 48. So my data ought to have, okay, my data ought to have 79, 98 rows. Okay, and when I check here on my query, it tells me that your data now has 79, 98. Okay, just minus the one header. So that's how you can combine easily from different worksheets. And now instead of having to come and add them manually, once I change, okay, so for example, I'll just for again, just to see how it works, I'll just pivot this one. No, let me just expand this one, create it into a very, or rather, even without pivoting, you see there are 79, 99 entries. Okay, what happens when you add a row or in this column? Okay, so for example, I come here, I don't know how these numbers are following each other, so I'll just write maybe a number. I think these are code to something. I'll just write that. I'll write dr. Okay, I'll write marine, maybe cbd. Okay, I'll just that authorization, I'll just use 43 181 43 159 43. I'm just entering data randomly just to show you how now it works when you append them together, and how now the data will be refreshed. So I've added some data on my table sheet 2, but remember we had appended these tables together, okay, the first table and the second table into this one table through Power Query. So now what happens when I refresh? Okay, so when I refresh, you see it will tell me running background query. Okay, so that one row gets added on the table that I had added. So if I had added it in table 2, it will add after table 2, and then now come and update my row. So you see now I have 8,000, but this is because I've added one column. Okay, so if you're having like 5 different sheets and you want to combine them into one. They have the same rows, they have the same headers, okay? You want to merge them into one, or they have a unique key, you want to merge them into one. That is what you do, okay? So you will keep refreshing your query, but now it will have all the entries. Now from, as we had said earlier, now from those entries is where now you can go up and do your analysis. Is that okay? Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So I'll just cancel this because that was just an example. I just copied from the other here. Okay. So I meant to cover the query part, okay, and maybe just to show you how to use the analysis toolpak, okay. So the analysis toolpak is a very important add-in when it comes to people who are doing statistics, or maybe you're solving a few problems here and there and you want some maybe some statistical information using the numbers that you have already, okay. So maybe you want to find, I don't know, you're doing a linear regression, you're doing the ANOVAs. So all those things are housed under, I believe everyone now has this, the data analysis toolpak add-in. Does everybody have the data analysis toolpak? This. No response means that everybody has it. You know, sometimes I must ensure that you can hear my voice, because maybe I might have left the meeting some minutes ago and without my knowledge, okay? So does everybody have the data analysis toolpak? David Wang Point ICDL Center. Do you have that? So that we go through how you can use it very fast before our time lapses.
I'll have to add it as an adding, right?
Yes. You know how to add it? Yes, just go to File, Options. Okay. So under Options, you'll find Add-ins. You'll find the Analysis Toolpak right there. Okay. So you'll click on that, and then it's usually a com add, an Excel add-in. So you can just go. So it will tell you, do you want to add it? Press OK. All right. Okay, that's nice. So the point that I wanted just to put across, sorry, is that for the for this add-in, okay, so once you click it, you'll find the various functions, okay. I'm not going to explain all of this, or even any, not going to explain the different statistical tools that you might use, you might need for your, because only you. Let me just expand my screen a little bit so that you get to see here. So these are maybe the various tests or data analysis functions that you might use, okay. So for example, I just copy 5, just like, a norm, just to set an example. Go to the analysis toolpak. Now that's something. Copy my data a little bit here. trying to see what I can do with that. Okay, so if you wanted to maybe find what can we find between these two sets of data? Maybe I could look for a price and the volumes bought, so that we do a linear regression. Don't know if there's the quantity. Okay, so what can I do? I can do the average price and the quantity bought. Okay, and that, okay, can do I can just create a table in which I have the maybe the quantity bought, okay, which is the count of phones, okay, and the average price of that brand, okay, just to see, maybe to get the linear function of um, of of people buying phones due to their prices. Okay, is that clear? So if I was to have just come create insert, go back to my insert a pivot. Remember, with this I can do very fast. I want to put it in an existing worksheet. Remember, just to put it in an existing worksheet, you click there and you go to the worksheet that you want. So maybe I want it here. Okay, so here I want just the brand. Okay, so I have various brands. So I have like those brands. What do I want? I want an average market retail price, okay, as an average. Just change the value field setting here to average. Okay, so that's the average price, and then I'll also have this as a count, just to see how many pieces were bought. May not be the best representation of what you might do, but then it will give you an idea on how you can use the analysis toolpak. Okay, so these numbers, I'll just copy them here as values, so that you don't have to keep dealing with the table. So I'll just copy this phone. This is the average price. This is the count of the volume sold. Okay, so I'll delete, just go ahead and delete this. I'll format this. Okay, so sorry, format this into whole numbers. Okay, need be separator. So I want to check if there's a linear relation between the price of the phones bought and the volume sold. Okay, so I want to see in my chat box, what should I have in my y-axis, what should I have in my x-axis. I have the average price, okay, and I have the volume sold of different phones. Okay, so maybe I just want to do now based on the data analysis under the analysis toolpak. I want to go to a linear regression. It should be a regression here. I press OK. So what should be on my y range? Any idea? Did you guys leave the meeting by any chance? Let's confirm that my participants are still there. Okay, so do you have an idea of what I should have in my, or what I should do in this point? at this point. Okay, so I can just you when you have your x and y ranges, you go ahead and put them inside. John said I input the range, which is correct. But now I was asking if you're following keenly, which are the ranges that I should put here. I have an average price, okay, and I have the maybe the volume of phones sold, okay, and I want to see if the price of the phone impacts the volume of the phones sold, okay. Is there anybody speaking? So basically, because it seems that most of us are lost, we just did the average price and the volume sold, okay. So we went ahead to the data analysis toolpak, chose the type of uh, regression that we wanted, okay. So here is where we were at. You can always, depending on your on your query, you can always get you can always choose the range depending on what you want to achieve, okay. So once you choose your range, for example, if I chose uh, this to be my y range, okay, so I'll just select the whole of it, okay, and then I'll go to the next range, okay. This is my x range, okay. I'll just select the whole of it. I'll say my data has labels so that the first, okay, so I'll just go, okay, so I'll just say that my data has labels so that on the first row it will assume them to be labeled. So you'll have, if you want a confidence level of 95%, then you'll press so, okay. So once you do that, it will give you the summary of the statistics that you want, okay. So I won't go into the details of reading these statistics because I do believe that once you are able to use a certain function, okay, you'll be able to interpret all this, maybe the multiple r, what does it mean, what does the r square mean, the adjusted r squares, this just tells you the number of observation, this gives you the coefficient and maybe the average prices, okay. So basically what I wanted to put across is you can use this add-in for all your statistical needs, so long as you know what is needed for that for that function, okay. So if you have your y-axis, you have your x-axis, and you need to do something for maybe the regression, you will do that, okay. So if you have your multiple regressions, um there's also I think a multiple regression somewhere here, if I'm not wrong, but I can just check. If you want the correlation between maybe two columns, just to find their relationship, and then it will now, after you do input the ranges, it will give you a summary of the output statistics. So this again depends with if you do understand to how to interpret what you are testing, okay. So this basically inclines that you must first be coming from a statistical background in which you know I'm testing for maybe something, okay, and then what do I expect, these are the results I do expect for that output, and then use them, okay. So that was just basically a heads up, um, to okay. Okay, Okay, for this, I'm trying to think because whatever will maybe represent the regression will be a trend line. Okay, so the trend line would represent the regression, if I'm not wrong, but you can always get the trend line once you have plotted the graph. Remember, okay, so let me just try to see this. Uh, Let me see if I can insert a scatter plot. Don't know if I can be able to plot a trend line inside here. Okay, let me see. Trend line. I don't know if I can be able to format the trend line because it's linear. But basically, you understand. I mean, you can always. It just depends because now you cannot. Um, how can I say? You cannot plot the output as such, but you can always plot your data in a certain way. Then plot something like a trend line. Okay, I'm just trying to see if I can have the equation of the trend line. Right. So if I was to have the equation of the trend line, I will have that, okay? Don't know why I think I interchanged the two variables while plotting, but basically if I was to show the equation, which is supposed to be represented by the coefficients here, this is what I will be representing. Okay? Is that okay? Let's Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it just depends. You must be sure on. I don't. I've not interacted so much with SPSS, so I wouldn't speak from a point of knowledge. But I think this is the best that you can get in terms of getting your output and maybe just visualizing maybe the output of or the regression of whatever you're testing. Okay. Yeah. Is there any other question? Any other question from what you have looked at today? Maybe the pivot part, maybe the last part. Okay. Okay. Why is it deactivated? What do you mean by deactivated? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you load it, does it shift from the add from the inactive to active when you load it? Mm-hmm. Go down here. Is there the option of go? Once you click go, down. Yeah. So you so go. Okay, sawa sawa. Any other question apart from that? Okay, so there being no other question, I'll just want us to prepare for tomorrow's class. Tomorrow we are going to create now we're just going to try and infer from everything that we have learned and maybe try and create a dashboard on some of on how we can present our data. All right. So but it's of keen interest just to go through everything, okay, go through our formulas, go through how you can get data from various sources, try to get data even from an SQL database, try get data from maybe an that a different web, okay, but tomorrow we will try just to bring in some of the few concepts that we have learned into one, okay, just for presentability and such, okay. If that is okay, I would like to end the class at this point and thank you all for attending. All right. Okay. So see you tomorrow, guys. Joel, I will send you your. You can just